Okay, the next question. Do you want to take it or shall I?
Is it written in the is that like the whole question? Because I don't know who wrote it.
Number three. It's yeah. It's kind of the whole question. Yeah.
Okay. Well, mysterious person asks, one of the many things that bothers me in today's WoW is that those epics are not as rare anymore. I remember back in vanilla on my rogue, I had blue green gear, and so did many others. And when you saw some guy with some tier one gear, that was amazing. What are your thoughts on this, Noble?
Novel. I think it's a relic of the past, to be honest. The same with all kinds of things that we had back in vanilla, like Nia looting. It's kind of it's not in the game anymore. Gear has become so easy to get, and that looking up at someone like, oh, you got the best gear in the game, and I want to get that, and how can I get that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Did we,
it's
did
all
we,
nostalgia.
Yeah, and did we really need it? I mean, that's kind of special snowflake syndrome, in my opinion. I mean, it's cool that people are rewarded with special gear like challenge gear, because they've been able to do those challenges. But really, why should one person get the better looking gear over another person?
Unless you're an LFR, which, like, I saw this hilarious post of someone who said, if you do LFR, you should come out with, like, tier gear, but it should look like rags. Like, it should look
Exactly.
covered in dirt and stuff.
So everybody knows you're an LFR player.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you can say, I'm an LFR rated through, like, broken teeth and, smashed face. Um,
But yeah,
yeah.
I kind of get the sentiment, and I kind of agree with LFR. Like I said, I think LFR has too high rewards, but that's just me. And as I did my videos, people were like, "Oh, you look like such a badass right now," and I'm like, "Yeah, I look like a badass, but all I've done really is hit loot pinatas. That's all I've done."
Transmog, yeah. Um, I think, like personally, I think the gear colors are completely out of whack. Like, I think when they originally designed gear back in vanilla, they had this mindset of the like you had the gear system where you got gray to white to green to blue to purple to the mysterious legendary.
Mm.
Um, but then they kind of realized down the track, BC and Wrath, that people just want purple. Like they don't feel adequate unless they have purple.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, what if we make all gear purple? If you've been raiding or if you get the so-called welfare gear, then you're purple. But I personally I feel like they've missed the point as if there was someone on their team originally who had that idea for gear colors and then he got fired and the rest of the team was like, what was he thinking? Like gear colors? Pfft, let's just go with item level and let's just call stuff
Item level,
Warforged
yeah.
heroic tertiary heirloom gear. But what he was going for, this supposed person, is something more visual, something that people can look at and say, "Oh, so you got that piece of gear. The color obviously means you're better than me." That's the intention of it. It's like you go from a dungeon, a 5-man dungeon, and who does 5-man dungeons anymore?
Mm.
And you get blue gear, and immediately go to LFR and above, and it's all purple. Everything's purple except for heirloom gear, which is completely new,
Yeah.
and it makes it feel. If if you make gear colors more unique, more exclusive, so I had the idea that maybe instead of having these gear colors, because I don't even know if it's like difficult to program in more colors now or something, because they're just stuck with purple gear, or if there is such like an uprise that people would hate to be in anything but purple gear. But if they could make it like a gradient so that you can have bluish gear, and as you get better gear in eye level, it turns into a more purplish blue, and then eventually you get to normal mode and it's purple. Then heroic mode is like a purplish orangey, so that you know that that person's, oh shit, he's got orangey yellow purple gear. He's obviously super hardcore.
Mm.
Or even just they could do something simple like put a border around the gear icon that has like like the dragon that symbolizes a difficult mob. Do the same thing with gear. Just have something there that is visual, that isn't just a word that just says just some abstract word like Warforged means nothing to the casual player. So
Yeah.
if they could fix that, I feel like it would be all right.
But would you also change the way that the gear looks? For example, right now we have people from LFR looking exactly the same in their set as people on normal and heroic. Would you change that? Or would you just change the stats that you see when you expect someone?
I feel like if Blizzard had a choice, they would make it so that it was all different, so that LFR raiders would get gear that is not as great. But what I really believe is happening, they design this gear, they put all this effort into the gear, and they realize all these difficulties, like 4 different difficulties at LFR Flex, normal, heroic, they don't have time to design all kinds of different special gear or make changes and all that kind of thing. They can do recolors really quick.
Yeah.
So let's do that. When they do something like that, it's fine. It's fine in my books because right now they've got Transmog, and ever since Transmog became a thing, I feel like gear has kind of become like the gear aesthetic value has kind of diminished because now you can just transmog to anything you want. Back in the day, if you saw someone in good gear, it meant they were raiding, they were active in the game. Whereas now is you can literally transmog yourself into anything. We had someone in my team who transmogged himself into like level 20 crappy gear that was all different colors and stuff. It looked awesome.
Yeah.
That's as long as there's transmog in the game. Just me personally, I don't have a problem with them just shoving all this different types of gear in different modes. If transmog was not there, it would be a completely different story, and I would say yes, LFR should have a completely different feel to the gear than heroic mode.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Definitely, the transmog has changed a whole lot when it comes to looking at a player and knowing what they've been up to and what they've done. And I think the suggestion of making a dragon portrait, it could also be very interesting just to do it for the nameplates for players. Like if you click on a player and they're heroic raiders or they've done something massively in the game, that they get a little dragon around their name. Could be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. Totally. I mean, right now we've only got like 8 bajillion titles for people and no one knows what, Hand of a Doll or the Shattered Sun, where did these come from? When it's all about how the casual player looks at it, when they look at a piece of gear or they look at a character, they should immediately know that this guy is a badass. Like he's been raiding super hardcore. He's earned all this shiny crap on his character or his shiny stuff on his UI or whatever to do with it. But right now, so long as we have transmog and with all this bloat in terms of titles and achievements and all this, it's so difficult for a casual player to just look at it and just say, I understand that this bear who looks kind of like a Tauren is a heroic raider.
Yeah,
obviously.
Exactly.
He's some guy.
And some people, they write it off as the special Snowflake syndrome, but you also need to realize that a game like WoW needs a reason to play it, and by making everybody special, no one's special. So if you put in those small, tiny details that differentiates, if that's the right word for it, one person from the next one, that gives a reason as to go to normal rating. That gives a reason as to go to heroic rating. And it might be a special Snowflake syndrome, you can call it that way, but it's also good for the game. It's good to keep people motivated to play it and go that extra mile. The same that they did with the transmog gear from challenge mode. That's a reason to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole transmog gear in challenge mode, I really feel like that should have kind of been in, heroic mode rating or something. Yeah, just a little bonus. It's all about the visual stuff, something that people can look to and just immediately, they don't even have to understand it. They can just look at it and just say, damn, that guy looks awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, what they added to heroic mode were those heirlooms till level 100.
Yeah, I mean, I just got my first heirloom yesterday. Yesterday. It's pretty exciting.
Wow.
It was one of those. It was a tanking sword. I think I'm the only person in my raid to have one. One of the other people in my raid does have one, but he was in the wrong loot spec when he got the heirloom. And I had to open a ticket just to say, help, this isn't right. And the blue magic Blizzard employee said, can't do anything about it. Toughen up.
Yep.
So yeah, technically I'm the first one to get it, but I feel sorry for the guy. Very exciting to have it. It's just good to know that you have something that will last you at least a while, into the next expansion. That's good. I actually haven't really thought much about whether they could make that bleed into like have that kind of system where you can gear yourself up for the next expansion by doing some extremely difficult thing in a raid. I mean, I'm kind of worried that if you get too much gear, then those people who power level to level, the new level cap, they do it in 2 seconds because they got all this fancy gear.
True. But on the other hand, they did remove the Realm First max level achievement, so they've kind of removed the reward for that one.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they
Oh,
did, man. I'm so disappointed. I had this guy, Turbo Slayer, on my server. We had a little competition until max level 90 with Mr. Pandaria, and we just can't do the competition over again. It sucks.
yeah. I remember Cataclysm, that guy who was like in the Naga area with the sand, and he was just killing Nagas with his whole raid teams behind him, like tagging it for him, and he
Oh, yeah.
reached level 85 in like 2 seconds, and it was impressive. It also felt like cheating, but yeah, that would have been really cool to see, honestly.
Yeah, well, I can understand why they do it. I mean, they don't want people burning their content, and maybe they'll even introduce that experience flask. And one of the reasons behind it, or at least one of the counter arguments to that flask, was the achievement. So yeah, I can understand why they removed it. It just sucks.
Well, we should totally talk about that the experience flask theme. I guess we could roll it into one of our future the questing topic. I guess maybe.
You want to
Maybe.
talk about the experience flask, man? You want to talk about it? Talk about it. Go for it.
Because people really don't like the fact that they got the microtransactions and everything. I mean, people are so against it. Um, the major thing is though, why would anyone buy an experience flask? Like, yeah, unless you're extremely desperate to get to level cap very fast. The fact is, like, I got one of my characters to level 90 in a damn week, a
Hmm.
single week. That would have been unheard of back in vanilla. I mean, I've been on one of those vanilla servers recently, and it takes you that long just to reach like level 30. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
tense. But these days, like if you'd introduced the experience flask back in vanilla WoW, I would have been all over that shit. I was
Yeah.
level cap. I was like in vanilla WoW, I never even reached level cap. I was playing that game for like the entire like year or two it was out. I never did it. Then Burning Crusade came out and I finally reached level cap. So no, these days you can just equip your heirloom. We're leveling too fast as it is. Why would you shell out real money to level faster than that? It just unless you're an Outland. If you're an Outland, I can understand if you're desperate enough to buy one of these experiences. But for most cases, not really.
Well, yeah, that aside, I mean, if people want to buy the flask that is also available from a rare mob in the game, that's their prerogative. If they want to level even faster, go for it. In my opinion, Blizzard, what they're doing with Warlords of Draenor, that instant level 90, they should have given that to year subscribers way more often. Like people who've been subscribed since Classic, they should hand out max level characters because leveling alts becomes so boring at one point that making that faster is pretty damn nice. But I think their problem with the experience flask is not the flask on its own, because it's the question, will it even be introduced on our servers, and it's the question, will it even count for level 90 to 100, because right now the level cap is 85 from the top of my head. But it's more the idea behind it, what's going to be next. I mean, if you're going to introduce experience flask right now, how long will it take until you introduce gear that you can buy, until you introduce a certain rating in arena, until you introduce a certain, what do you call it? And I think that's the main problem people have with this experience flask.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, with Warlords, you can just keep buying like level 90 characters. I mean, that's not even a problem. Um, I guess, yeah, I would be worried that they would go too far with it. They keep pushing it because it's like, oh man, we're getting quite a bit of income from this. Let's keep wringing these people dry. So, I don't really. Blizzard have kind of been on on the fence, or a bit beyond the fence on kind of making you pay a bit more than is necessary. I mean, the fact that server transfers and name changes and all that kind of thing, microtransactions, on top of the fact that you pay a monthly subscription, that's a bit intense. I mean, even Total Biscuit said that that's completely crap. You know, I don't use his words, but it is a bit dodgy. But I mean that's been in the game for quite a while. The thing is, nowadays there's so much more publicity. People get so much more riled up these days than they did back in, say, Burning Crusade or Wrath.
Oh yeah.
That to introduce these things now, I'd be more concerned about the media backlash than people abusing the fact that they're getting experienced flasks or anything like that.
And what do you mean, the media backlash?
Well, I mean, you look at every time someone mentions WoW going free to play, there's always an IGN article. There's always a Kotaku article. Every time there's even a hint that there's going to be something like that. I mean, I think it was the fact that there was going to be a free level 90. The instant that came on the screen, pretty much every website was like, "Oh my God, they're shelling out casual time. Game's over. Subscriber lost."
WoW's dead. We're done. Over. Bye.
Oh God, I love making fun of the fact that people keep saying WoW's about to die. Like every time a subscriber count comes out and it's like, "Oh man, we've lost some more subscribers," I'm always like, "That's it. WoW's dead. Everyone move on." Game, Star Wars: The Old Republic. Let's go.
Oh yeah, because that was a huge success. Oh yes.
I keep dissing on the Old Republic, but that's only because it hit me the hardest. The fact that I was so hyped for it and it kind of disappointed. Other games have done this, but that one, I saw the trailers for that, and I was like, oh man! Like I said to my brother, like this is gonna be the best game ever. I swear to God. And I played it for a month. I'm like, this has got to be like the worst MMO I've ever played.
Yeah, I've talked about that before. It's often the hype behind WoW's dying and this is going to be the next WoW killer that actually kills off the other MMO because they just can't live up to the hype that's been built up. And you don't forget, WoW, as much as people like to piss on it, is a very strong MMO. And it's been there for what, 8 years now? And it has the chance to learn from its mistakes and grow and expand and give you all this content. And in comes a new MMO, just a tiny little competition. And everybody's like, oh my God, this is going to be it. And they play it and they're like, well, either it's similar to WoW or it doesn't live up to the hype or whatnot. And they dismiss it, which is a real damn shame.
I mean, I love to be critical about WoW. Like, that's pretty much all I do is, like, I criticize parts of the game. Like, I really say anything good about it, even though I think really good things about it. Like, it's hard to express that, the fact that I like the game at all. But yeah, every time I see like subscriber losses and that kind of thing, it just makes me laugh. But yeah, the game, I think the game is so unique in the fact that no other game has really gone like this long and been relevant. Like other games, they come and then they have a lifespan and then they just go away, and then people are like, it's like nostalgic for them. Whereas WoW keeps going, like with new expansions, like the old system keeps living on, and people aren't used to that. They're not used to the fact that this thing which will not die, like it just keeps going.
It will not die, damn it!
Made it their mission to kill this game, yeah. Yeah, the fact that it keeps going and it's like they're going like yearly expansions now and they're inventing new stories. Like the beast will not die. Like it just will not go down. And people are like in awe of that. I think that's more than anything. It's like it's not even jealousy. It's just they're completely dumbfounded how the game just keeps going. Yeah.
But there have been other games. I mean, EverQuest 2 is still going strong, I believe. There was this game Linux or something like that that's still going. I mean, there are other MMOs that have had a very long run with a very strong player base behind it. But often when people get these subscription numbers out and they're like, oh my God, WoW lost X amount of subscribers again. Can you really blame it? I mean, WoW, when you go to the core of it, it's pretty much the same game as it was back in Classic. I mean, you push a couple of buttons, you kill a boss, you get some loot. That's still going, so it's not amazing that people get bored with it or move on or get lives or whatnot. It's in my opinion, it's naturally to lose those subscribers.
Yeah, they did mention that they've lost more subscribers than like the people, the amount that they've had originally have kind of dwindled to nothing, but they've gained so many new subscribers that it's made up for that fact, which is pretty ridiculous.
And I think, honestly, Warlords of Draenor has a huge chance of getting new people back into their seats. I mean, it can be a huge, big fail, especially with the storyline that they're going with and the features that are introduced. Or it can be brilliant and it will get people back in their seats. An instant level 90, that's huge. People were looking at all these old expansions and were going like, I am not going to play that much time, going to invest that much time into a game. And then the concept behind it, Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, a little bit of Warcraft 3. The basic Burning Crusade story where they had so many subscribers. I think, at least I hope, that they're going to bring in a lot of new players or maybe even old players.
I totally think they will. I usually go on 4chan, and I know it's like hideous and like a terrible thing, but I like seeing opinions that are like real, that are unfiltered, uncensored. And when I went on there and I had a look at the feedback for the announcement, a lot of people were actually positive, which is unheard of on that site. And even when you go on MMO Champion on the forums and the WoW forums, people like this kind of, like, people are really hopeful about this expansion. Whereas you look at Mr. Pandaria and all of the feedback, all of it focused around the tone. And I was with them, you know, the whole Kung Fu Panda thing. Well, not technically, not specifically that, but I was like, you know, Panda, this is strange.
Yeah, I never got that, to be honest. I never got the critique of it looks like Kung Fu Panda. Didn't people love Kung Fu Panda? I freaking love that movie, man. When they introduced that trailer back in Cataclysm and you saw that panda jump down, I was laughing my ass off. Like, they're really doing this. And then when you looked closer to what they actually offered in the expansion, and those that dismissed it just because of pandas really missed out on a great expansion, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of gameplay, this has got to be like the best. Like, seriously, I mean, they've made so many improvements. Like, it feels like a completely different game than it was, say, 4 or 5 years ago. There's so much new stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they keep adding things like little things like pet battles, and the fact that they changed up the quest system to the Timeless Isle. They keep adding things like things I don't like the Brawlers Guild, the Proving Grounds, and all that kind of thing. So they keep adding things in, and it gets better. I'm hoping to do like a discussion on what I think of Warlords of Draenor probably next week. And one huge video, because I haven't done that yet. I've just done bits and pieces and things I care about. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm personally very optimistic about it. And the whole issue with Pandaria for me, because like I don't think I was even subscribed when the announcement was done. So I just remember thinking like, it was all I think it was all the trailer. The way they showcased it was like, the first minute of the trailer was like old stuff, like things from the previous expansions, and then they got to the panda stuff, and pretty much the whole trailer was like a panda like fighting a dummy and stuff, and then they had some Asian architecture, and that was really cool looking. And then the trailer kind of ended, and I was like, oh, well, this is strange. Yeah, and then they kind of talked about all the new features they're bringing into the game. I'm like, damn, they should have opened with this, because there's so much new stuff.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, the way they approached the trailer for this expansion was pretty tops, honestly. Because they left a lot of questions. I think that's the best way to go about it. It's like, as soon as you see a trailer, if you're begging to see, you know, the answers to some of the questions you have, then you've done it right. Whereas if you answer everything, then it's like people aren't gonna care much.
Well, what I do have to say about Mistgard, it wasn't the perfect expansion. I mean, they overdid it with the daily quest, and there were a couple of things that I was like, okay, this just sucks. But overall, it was a good expansion. Before people get me wrong and they're like, oh my god, Mist sucked. No, it was good, wasn't perfect.